Hi, welcome to Art and Hardware. Today we're going to be talking about pantograph machines and showing you the one that I built for under $50. So for those of you unfamiliar with the pantograph, it resizes sculptures. So let's get to the one I built.
Wait.
Alright, so here is my pantograph, and it's much smaller than the one that was pictured before from the initial picture. Mine's only about 5 feet long right here. So what I designed it for, I've got a small sculpture here that I was enlarging, and I thought, you know, it would be great to be able to have a machine that can do it. I could have done it all with calipers, but this I can use again and again and again, whereas the measurements with calipers, I have to redo them every time. It's scalable. I can do 1:3 ratio. This is particularly a 2.6 ratio, so this is 2.6 times the size of the original. So let's show you how it works. Come on in here and we can show you the pivot points. This pivot here is the key to the whole thing. It pivots up and down, as you can see here, and back and forth. So the whole piece runs this. Now we've got a weight system over here, and as you look up, we've just got it hooked into the ceiling with some eye bolts, some lag bolts, tied to the end of the machine here. And that's what keeps it balanced so it doesn't fall down or whack into my pieces and that kind of thing. Then, the working parts of this and the things that allow it to be able to point for scale, these are the two adjustable pointers. And you see we've got some sharpened metal rods here, and these are spring steel because they hold their straightness a little bit better. And then I've got these pivot points. So not only do we have the up and down motion of that pivot and the back and forth motion of that swivel, but these move back and forth to the angles, and they pivot around the rod. Now I made this all out of scrap metal and different things, and we're going to pause just a second because we got a little kid. All right, so we're back. It's nice to be able to pivot in all of these dimensions, back and forth and up and down, because to get around a full 3D thing, you need to be able to do that. The last portion of this, which really makes it full 3D instead of just drawing, is, and I'll set this aside here, is the turntable. So if you'll come into the turntable a little bit there. What I did is I used bicycle parts. So I've got two small children's bikes that I picked up at the thrift store, and I used the back spokes, or the back wheels from the two bikes to create the turntables. And they're fairly stable as far as that goes. I wouldn't use them on anything huge, but for a little mock-up like this, it works good. And then I used a front tire here, and it's pinioned in here with a screw, and then this screw is just to raise it up and keep it flat. But this keeps the tension on the chain to allow it to spin. And it's got a 1-to-1 turn ratio, so you see when this is lined up front here, this one stays lined up front, and it works itself all the way around, just like so. So that's how we work it. So let me show you just how you do the point up. One little quick thing. In order to get the ratios, and I've got to throw out Spencer Schubert, the Sculptor's Apprentice, has a great video talking about this kind of stuff too. And he was nice enough to email me a little bit of information. I'd already built the machine, but for some reason I couldn't get it to line up. And one paper that he sent me as a picture file told me exactly what I needed to do, and it was on really old paper. You can tell by the picture of the paper that it was from the turn of the century or so. So what you do is you just measure the distance between this pivot point on the long pointer and the main pivot right here to the center of it, and that's your distance. Now you divide that by whatever scale you're using. In this case, it's 2.6. So that gives me the distance that I would need from this pivot point to the center pivot, and I just refer to that as the center pivot. So doing that, it was great, and then measuring from this pivot point to the tip of my pointer, divide that by the same that you did before, in this case 2.6, gives you the distance of the length of this pointer from this pivot point. So when you go in and you touch to a pivot point, say here where the hairline meets on the two sculptures, it gives you that point. And then obviously I haven't sculpted out the elbow, but the elbow is going to go right in here. And if I need to go around to the back, I can turn either of these. And let's go to that fold on the back of the head, and we've got it right there. So that tells me how far out I have to build on any point that I've got in here. Like I haven't built the back out quite far enough yet there. And that. So this pantograph, it cost me less than 50 bucks. I think I got the two bicycles from a thrift store for $5 a piece. They had flat tires, which didn't matter to me. The tube steel and the swivel pivots, I just picked them up at a junkyard. You can use all that stuff, and I just welded it together and I basically used a grinder, a drill press, and my welder. Those were pretty much the tools that I used. I used a drill driver to do this stuff. And then for the wood, I just used my a jigsaw and my chop saw to cut the plywood. So worked out great. Good luck in making one for yourself. It was a process, but it was really rewarding. And I think that it's one of those things. Jason Arkles from the Sculptor's Funeral podcast commented back to me when I was telling him what I was building. And I said, I kind of feel like a Renaissance sculptor. And he says, you are a Renaissance sculptor. So if Jason Arkles says it, it must be true. I am a Renaissance sculptor. And it's going to be great working with this. And this is a prototype. Stay tuned. I'm actually going to be doing a little more in-depth on how I built this thing later on. I've just got to get this commission finished first, and then I'll be putting up some more videos. I'm going to build another bigger one later. Thank you, Spencer and Jason and all the other people who threw in their 2 bits, and we'll see you later.